For those who were here on Thursday, we experimented with upper lower. Okay, so this is real quick. Second violins, violin twos, raise your hand for me. Okay, if you were here on we didn't ever split, did we? Because we practiced both and then we did. So we're gonna have to figure that out. And Jordan's here, so we'll be able to do it. We'll have an odd number. Okay, put a pin in it. We'll be right back. First violin, just raise your hand for a second. Okay, raise your hand if you were here on Thursday and you played upper. You split two, and then how many lowers did we have? Okay, Olivia wasn't here, so we'll need to listen for balance there. For right now, Olivia, when we get to split parts, play lower, since that's the neighborhood you're in right now. Second violins, could you raise your hand for me one more time? Okay, let's try this. That's right, we've got a column of three right here. And Alejandra is the only one, she has to be upper because the solo part and the upper line kind of overlap a little bit. So let's do upper and then lower and see how that balances, okay? Violas, I think we talked about when it's divided, Alice is the solo line. And if it's ever divided like not solo or whatever, let's just still do Alice on the top line and Emma and Zoe on the second line so that we never have to worry about is this one or the other, okay? Then Grace, I think we've touched on all the spots. You're usually playing the upper part because usually the lower part is doubled in bass. But if there's any exceptions to it, we'll notice it today because there's no bass. Okay, from the top. Yes. Yeah.
When you ask who's playing upper lower, do you mean like below the solo line, like when there's the
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And when we get it balanced, I'd like to write it down and have it, and then because I will forget. But then if you forget or unsure, it'll be written down, which will be good. Okay, here we go from the top. We're gonna run as far as we can and only stop when it's like not together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Last two bars. Okay. I wanted to make it all the way through, and we did. So we're going to call it a success and ask no more questions. No. Okay. One thing. This is interesting to me. I hope it's interesting to you. But if it's not interesting, I won't talk about it for very long. At the beginning, that did not feel like a fast tempo, right? And then when we got to the middle, there was some holy cow, why are we going so fast moment. All that means is that we've been practicing it in sections for a long time. And so we need to more often need to be like just kind of running it through. That's okay. I would like to leave 64 to the end aside for right now. Okay, not that it didn't have its own issues, because it did, but let's take care of this first half. Okay, and let's go at measure 14, because that's where the first violins come in. It's the first measure that we all play, and I want you to play it. This is going to sound really sloppy, but it's for tuning. I want you to play every note long. Okay. Now, if you have like eighth note, eighth rest, you can bleed through the rest if you want. But I just want us to play long pitches so that we can hear. There actually are some chords, and our pitches need to match. So this is slowly and legato-ly at measure 14. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and okay. A little bit faster and now short again. Okay. Measure 14 in style, a little bit less slow. 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. Good. Now, if we put the first and second violin parts together at measure 16, okay, there should be something happening on each eighth note. We should hear a constant 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 through those two measures. Okay, so let's do that. Let's put first and seconds together at measure 16. We should hear nonstop eighth notes between the two parts. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Good. Now, can it all be the same length? Okay, we could pizzicato it, but we won't. Let's just imagine that we did and then said that's the length we want. Here's 16, 3 and 4 and. Yeah, when we have these short notes, tuning becomes harder because you don't get like the middle of the note to tune, right? We probably all heard of a violinist named Jascha Heifetz, or if you haven't heard of him by name, you've heard like somebody refer to him because he was a big deal when we first like figured out how to record sound. But he's also very arrogant, which is unfortunate. But someone once asked him, like, have you ever made a mistake in a performance? And he said, well, I play out of tune all the time, but I fix it before people like you can hear it. Which was rude. That'd be rude to say to anybody. He was actually talking to very, very good musician when he said it. But we all kind of do that, right? Like we have those like approximate tuning things when we're playing slow, gushy things. And if we miss a pitch and slide into it, it's expressive, right? Like, oh, I'm just playing like I'm in love, not out of tune. When we play this real short stuff, you have to adjust. You have to land the note before the bow ever moves because the note is this wide, side to side, right? We don't have these kinds, so we get this long to hit that pitch. All right. Let's bring in everybody. This is 16 again, and we're going to bring in the non-violins as well. Same speed, everything short as if you were plucking that length. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Yes. Now let's play it. If your dynamic there is mezzo forte, play it louder. If your mezzo piano, stay the same. 16 again. 3 and 4 and. Okay, oops. I did that wrong. Go back to 14 now. Actually, you know what? Go to 9. Okay, for some of you, that's just a downbeat, but this is the section we're going to be at for a little while. So here's 9. 2 and 3 and. 4K can be louder, which is up to those of you who have the crescendo, which without bass here, we all have to do it. I mean, I think there's only one part with notes there at the crescendo. We're getting our shortness, it sounds like kind of a couple different ways. If you're playing the short note from the air, it's going to be 2 Mozart. You need to play the short note from in the string, which means the space in between the notes, the silence in between the notes is for gripping the string. If you're coming into contact as it's time for the note, you're too late. So if I'm playing like da, 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 my bowels go da, da, da. You see how it's coming from underground, right? Especially when your notes are on those low strings and it can be a little rough. Okay, measure 9, faster.
You want us to come from the strings then?
If you have time, like obviously when you're playing fast notes, you can't, but yes, if you have time to land, then pull the note. Instead of da, 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 it's da, da, da. So it has that harder front. Here's measure 9, a wee bit faster. 2, 3. Bum, beat, bum, bum, beat, bum, 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 bum. Keep going. 2, 3. I like the style it's getting, and I want to back up and do it faster. Before we do that, first violins at 32, that's where we're going to break that rule a little bit. Beam, bum, 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 beam is a little bit more of a melody. So like on the G sharp at 32, we can be a little bit longer and vibrate it because it's a melody. Beam, bum, 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 beam, bum, beam, bum. We'll practice that in just a second. Okay, but this is measure 9 again. It was really clean that time, so we're going to go faster and see if we can keep it just as precise. Here's measure 9. Good. We got a lot of stuff in that section we went through. A lot of entrances are starting to time out well. I'd like to hear the firsts at 32 and then the violas at 34 because it's the same thing, okay? But again, just a little bit more. We've been playing the notes like this, a little more this on the G sharp. Beep, bum, 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 beep, bop, beep, bum. Okay, first violins at 32. Here it is. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, for right now, try to even like lean a little bit on that G sharp. Beep, bop, 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 beep, bop, bop, bop. I can't even fake play a violin gracefully, but the idea is that sense of motion there. Okay, first violins at 32. Once more. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Beep, beep, bop, bop, beep, bop, beep. Yeah. That's a shame. I don't know what to write there, but write something that makes sense to you to remember that those notes are, I don't know how you draw that. Pet the cat. Spread the mayonnaise. I don't know, something. Okay? Violas at 34. It's the same idea. So let's try. And 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay. We're just going to do those 3 notes at 34. Okay? Because I'm not worried about the notes. I've heard you do them a bunch of times. Overall, it's got to be louder. But then that G sharp is your like pet the kitty note, right? Try those 3 notes for me. 1, 2, and 3, and even longer bow. So if each of the other 8 notes are getting like this much bow, then the G sharp's got to get that. Ba, ba. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay. Alice, do it first. I'm going to see if anybody can beat Alice's amount of bow on the G sharp. Oh, she used more, but she's beatable. Emma, can you try it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If the G sharp was the loudest, I would come out of the upper half and be a little bit more in the lower half where you have control. Let's see if Zoe can do it. Okay. Start up bow so that the G sharp gets the down bow weight. Try it again. Yeah, that'll be there. Now, they're all such good musicians because what did I tell them was like the metric for the contest? Was who could use the most bow on the G sharp. Did any of them play the rhythm wrong? No. They could, if all you cared about was winning, which we don't, we're an orchestra, if all you cared about was winning, you could have gone, bum, bum, bum. But you're such good musicians that you would not consider for a second to cheat, even though it would feel so good to win. Okay, this is everybody, and we're going to start at measure 31, because it's a 2/4 bar where we're all together, and we're going to hear this melody that passes from the firsts to the violas before something new starts. Okay? 2/4 bar, measure 31. And 1 and 2. bop, beep, bop, beep, bop, Good. 50 will be its own spot in just a second. Good. Viola's at 34. The shape is good. So keep doing what you're doing. Overall, if it could be louder. And it could just be that it's 3 versus 5. Okay, but you're being handed the baton, so to speak, by 5 people an octave higher. We've got to have more to get it equal there. Would everybody please play at the pickup to 40? We're going to play this little scale and just reassure ourselves that we have not forgotten how to play this scale. Here we go. Pick up to 40. 2 and 3 and slower so that we can hammer out each note. 2 and 3 and good. Now, don't let the bow off the string. Dot, dot, dot. It's got to be so that those 16th notes are scrubba, scrubba. Here we go. Same place, same speed. 3 and good. And we talked about that E natural at the top is the loud note, right? Da 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 da. Ba, 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 ba. So since we're only going to the E for right now, can we crescendo all the way up? Da 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 dee da dee da 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 da. That. Here we go. 2 and 3 and even more, I would say more on the front end. It kind of did this. Let it crescendo like this. Okay, here we go. 3 and yes, vibrate that last E. Obviously, some of you can't in real life because there's more notes, but for right now, get that top E to ring at the top of the scale. 2 and 3 and okay, it's really there, but like at the very top, we discussing this, and maybe we didn't go through it. Everybody has subito mezzo forte, which I hope when I put it in your parts, I put subito mezzo forte because Higdon put MF sub, and it looks like if you read it in an angry way, it could be quite offensive. But for some of them, it looks like it's that downbeat, that suddenly mezzo forte, and it's really right after. Okay, so like first violin solo, for example, it's very deceptive because you have 3 16th notes, and the first one is like the peak of crescendo, and then the next one is sudden. Okay, once more. 2 and 3 and yes. Now, when we put the other notes back in, those of you who have that downbeat E need to realize that not all the orchestra is with you. Okay, some sections have a rest on that note. So now that you've got the shape, you have to make that last one even stronger to fill the space emptied out by other people. Let's back up. What's a good spot? 31 is a good spot again. 31 to the top of that scale we just did. Beep, bop, beep, bop. 1, 2, and bop, bop, bop. Yes. and going on. One, two, one, and two. Measure 49. We're gonna build it a little bit at a time, okay? Measure 49, starting with viola and cello. And viola, feel free to play that downbeat F or not, because it's tied over from the previous measure. Okay? Cello and viola at 49, 2 and 3 and 4, and. Good. Can the quarter note there, so it's a low F sharp in cello and a higher C sharp in viola. Can it kind of grow into the 8? So for viola, it'd be bum, dee, dum, bum, dee, bum. For cello, we have that ba, 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 bee, ba, ba. Kind of just starting the crescendo a little bit earlier. Okay, one more time, and then we're going to add the seconds. All right, measure 49, 3 and 4, and. Yes, that just makes it more interesting. Okay, seconds. Would you join us at 49, please? Here we go. 3 and 4 and. Good. It doesn't say to crescendo in your part, but I think it would be good because we're building, because your line is going up. Most of the time, when we add stuff like that in, we make a smart alecky remark like, what's the composer going to do? He's dead. But in this case, it's neither a he or a dead one. So she could, like, if she comments on our YouTube video or something, it's like, why'd you do that? You just be flipping. Okay? One more time. One more time, same people. 2, 3 and 4 and. Yes. Add to that the first violin, the other not solo part, which is the same notes as the first. So follow the same thing. Slide build. Here's 49, 3 and 4 and. Yes, I like it. Let's add the soloists who have been not with us up until this moment. 49, everybody. 3 and 4 and. Once more. Once more. 2, 3 and 4 and. So, Kevin, how ridiculous can you be on those last 16th? Like, I kind of like that you're on the back row just for today, because I want you to push that sound over all the heads, especially that last da da da. Think about, like, if you were an electric guitar, and I'm going to speak a language I don't know. If you were an electric guitar, this would be all the distorted, like, tearing up the amp. La da 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 da. Okay. Did you like my impression of electric guitar? That was no extra charge for that. Here we go. 49. 3 and 4 and. Now, I liked that volume for mezzo forte, okay? But 50 needs to be louder, right? Unlike the previous spot, 30 or wherever we built, 40 was built, and then it was suddenly mezzo forte. 50 is an actual, like, there's some angst there, okay? We don't need to go through it part by part. Can we do 49 and just think about sustaining that volume when we get to 50? Here's 49, sustain the volume when we get to 50. Ready? And. Good. I have kept this over our intermission time, and I apologize, but I was having a good time. Let's come back at 5 after 1, and Angel will be with us, and so we can add him into these spots. Thank you for your good, detailed work on this. Have a good break. Yes.
Is it okay if I use a harmonic for this layer?
Yes. Let's double check that I've given you all the. Oh, yeah. It's not written as a harmonic, but you can. Probably makes sense given that it's just one measure before the whole jungle of. Yeah,